Yes. It's another Sunday. And we used to reach every Sunday as well.
Every Sunday is a Sunday Scoops Day.
Sunday Scoops Day.
And a rice and peas day.
The man want to make Sunday Scoops into a day. I don't think you have that authority, no, boss.
We control the calendar.
Talk to Ron Death Santis about that.
We call it Death Santis. By the way, the man them lock we down, we just try to get the thing started. And, so them politicians and them no ramp when they come to them thing. But seriously, today is Sunday Scoops, and just from a recap sample, we attempted this program last week, had some issues, and so we've decided to expand the program to not just redo but expand the program to pay tribute to Shaka, Jamaican British dub and reggae pioneer who passed away just a little over a week and a half ago. Understand there was a huge night for him in London on Friday, Mikey, and over thousands and thousands of people. The man said them thought it was a football match or something. People are going to, but Shaka night and some wicked dub later. In fact, Gussie sent me some video and thing with it, man. Trust me, amazing. So, and then we want to use the opportunity. We had, Garth, you and I had done this work on the influence of dub, and of course there's this cross fertilization with the sound system movement, and we figured a good opportunity to take a look at not just Shaka's impact on the dub on the sound system in the UK, but to also incorporate some of the others as well.
There's a whole host of other
long tapestry of them. And so, of course, we draw on the expertise of the esteemed Michael Bennett.
Nobody want to know what you're talking about.
Michael Bennett.
Mikey Bennett.
Oh, him.
you know what I brother? Yes. So we have asked Mikey to come on board. Mikey is always is a part of the Sunday Scoops team, whether he want to understand it or not. And I think it's the best way to flesh out this thing. But I think God for get us started a nice little taste.
Yeah, man. 1980, Jah Shaka went into the whole music production business, and he did his first song called Jah Children with African Princess. Yeah, that was Jah Children Cry and Jah Children Cry dub. That was mixing the dub, and you can see the man up.
As we say,
an echo chamber.
Listen, it's interesting that just on the heels of us, looking at dub music, its origin and influence, this development came up, and of course, this is a man who is one of the people who pioneered not just the sound system per se into the UK. Well, there were a lot of earlier practitioners before him, but certainly what he did by the time he got himself situated is that he took, the dub became his own religion, and I think it just makes sense that we look back at the period that led to this development. Of course, we're
not
know.
going to assume who Jah Shaka is. We're going to tell the people then, right?
Go ahead.
Born at Clarendon. Clarendon.
I will call Clarendon here to Manchester.
A whole heap of artists. There's no bearing on that. I'm just saying that you have people out there who don't know who Jah Shaka is. I never know who Jah Shaka was until he passed away. So again, it just also shows how much there is a disparity between Jamaican music and British music, because they know everything about Jamaican music, but we really hardly know anything about British music. As a matter of fact,
Mikey, I think it's a good point. A good point to make.
No, all right.
Point last week, Mike. Yes.
When we were going to school, Tobies was like this underground hero. It's like, and of course the exaggeration. I mean, I had no idea what Tobies looked like. I mean, actually, when I first time I saw him, I was almost disappointed how ordinary him looked, because the man, when they come from Waterhouse and things, I mean, it was a larger than life. The whole Tubby's thing was a larger than life situation. And then the whole dub thing was, because it wasn't on the radio, and most of us, like youth from Vineyard Tongue and East, never had access to certain things. So there are a lot of things going to create the mystique around certain individuals. And the longer they manage to hang on to it and hold it, the larger the mystique grow. And with the mystique comes sometimes some serious exaggerations either way, which helps, and which sometimes can lead to disappointment. But it is one of the things. The average Jamaican have no idea what Tubbies look like or who Tubbies was. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, the mark he made and the influence he had on a certain section of the music was so powerful that he will remain, I mean, whether it's musical folklore or thing, as one of the great influencers of music, dub music, and they led the way for the introduction of greater and greater technology. You know what I mean? So there was a musicians doing the music part, but there was the other side of it, which was equally important, the people who use the technology to say, listen, we have something here, small, but with the technology, or with the limited technology, we can tweak it and do all kind of things, and experimentally. And because he didn't have to play to a gatekeeper called JBC or RJR, he could do things that he would get away with, and he got away with it, and it became very popular because of his sound system, and other people wanting to use it, and you know what I mean. So it's just one of them wonderful things that happen every now and then. And I think when you look at the Shaka situation, I'm sure there are a lot of similarities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he born in Clarendon Parish in 1948. That was the year. I don't think anybody know what the month. And, Clarendon is home to people, producing people like a Toots Hibbert, Everton Blender, Barrington Levy, Freddie McGregor, just to name a few. I think Coco Tito, if I'm not mistaken. And then, he went to England at the tender age of 8 with his parents. And you had mentioned something about the Windrush situation, Richie.
Yeah, well, he went to England in 56, I think it was, right? Yeah. 56. And which would have been just about 8 years after that Windrush voyage. So it was pretty much part of that Windrush generation, if you will, because 56, you still travel to the UK on a steamship and on a British passport.
Yeah. Because we're still post-colonial.
Yeah, we're still part of the British Commonwealth. Well, we still are. And so he said by the time he got there, he went to the UK for school purposes, etc., and, just developmental thing. It took him a while to get into the music business. He apprenticed himself to the sound system by the name
so Freddie Cloudburst.
Freddie Cloudburst. And all Freddie Cloudburst allowed him to do was to wipe down the sound, wipe out, make sure the box them clean and shiny, man. And no dust no gather up on the instrument them and all that kind of thing. And over time he got a little chance to turn him on the turntable. Of course in those days a one turntable system. So
right.
But and of course I think as Mikey, you mentioned Mikey about this whole mystique surrounding not just the individuals with our music, but just the whole development. In Britain, you imagine a group of Jamaicans who used to with them rowdy behavior on a Friday, Saturday night, with them, our midweek dance, and then you go England where you can't do that. There was no place for them to entertain themselves, and so these guys who were exposed to the early sound system back in Jamaica started to create their own sound system, which give rise to some of the names we mentioned, people like a Count Suckle and a Duke Vin. These guys, 1950s, your boy Lloyd Matador, Lloyd Daly,
right?
The man that built sound from the late 1950s, and so that was transferred with the migration into England. Of course, them couldn't use the systems available to them there because them say the amplifier them sound like transistor radio. So them decide to go find a man who can build an amp.
Yeah, man.
And the
tell
man
him what
say,
he wants.
Yeah, so we want a 500 watt. The man say, you're mad. if you do that, the whole of British light and power, you suck out all of the current. That man, so like that we want. So, but the thing can't play in the red. Him said, no, in the red we want it play. Yeah. And so, but it just goes. And so we took that culture, and enough can be said about it. Now Shaka come in later, granted. I'm going
in the 1970s.
Yeah, I'm a little boy. But even so, in the 1970s, it was still the developmental period of the music.
The dub part of the music had its influence in 1967, 68.
Right.
But the whole dub with dancehall in terms of dub as an art form with King Tubby and all of those guys really didn't get its full wings until in the 1970s. And then with Rastafari involved, and this is one of the things that Jah Shaka did, he never left out the spiritual aspect of his music. And even then, the albums that he has, his Commandments of Dub and Verse 1, Verse 2, those are the name of the songs.
Oh, well,
and then you have another one named Brimstone and Fire. And then the track is like Preacher Dub and Prophet Dub and Vision Dub and Judgment Dub. So the man take him Rastafari thing very, very seriously.
London did too. The most Rasta man I ever seen in one place was in London.
In London, there you
go.
So we wanna because that influence is an interesting point, Mikey. I mean, I myself been through the UK a couple of times, and it's a different kind of vibe with the Rasta in England. There's a. So you say the Jewish man them walk around with them little white thing wrap around them waist and thing. Them dreadlocks them in London, them take the thing serious. Them like a kaba rasta.
No, and then
default.
Because Clark's make England, you don't know. That's one of the things. There's two things that is synonymous with Rastafari, apart from the color red, green, and gold, is your Clark's and your khaki suit. Yeah, man.
But to your point, though, God, Shaka represented this amalgamation of Rasta, the Rastafarian, and his musical influence, and then that thing about because the Shaka thing come off a Shaka Zulu.
Right, that's how we got his name. Yeah, so Jah, as is mentioned in the Psalms, the name of God, and Shaka as a Zulu warrior, and he must amalgamate the two one. Is it Jah Shaka? So I'm going to give you verse 1 of the Commandments of Dub, and then I'm going to do verse 3. Alright, so that was verse 1 and verse 3. Not 3, 3. Yeah. The interesting thing with Jah Shaka though is that he went back to Jamaica in the 80s, and that's when he met up with King Tubby. And I'm sure that was a But what I like about Jah Shaka is that when he performed, it was a performance. He just never did juggle records or in my skank, in my dance, and having loud sirens and sound effects, and it was a performance, a whole performance for him.
Again, when a man who has decided to take this and turn it into a piece of himself, if you will, so him do the homework, the scholarship, and because from my little research of him tells you, if the man had a following of thousands. Yeah, when Shaka announced that, when you have a Shaka dance announced, is not an uncommon sight for 3,000-4,000 people to turn up, and if you do that. Them in Jamaica, them said for the whole of JDF and Armand Barracks, they lock up people, right? But here is a man. Market, the UK is a much bigger social environment, so to find that kind of following as opposed to somewhere in Jamaica, that is I wouldn't necessarily call it extraordinary, but to maintain that over such a long period, that is what tells you the kind of value of his work. Mikey, you've been in.
Well, let me put a little context here. So we used to have Heineken Star Time in Jamaica, and then would attract 4,000 or 5,000 people, every 2 or 3 months, right?
Right.
one of the things about these type of situations is you see that experience that you have when you go to a dance like that, especially, and you get a little piece of Jamaican and you look around and you see pure Jamaicans. If you're a Rasta man, you see enough Rasta man. If you smoke weed, you smell enough weed. It's a little piece of Jamaica. And one of the most crucial currency in anything is a thing called nostalgia. It's that nostalgia that can be dealt with at an experiential situation like a Shaka dance or a Tubby's dance or a Heineken Star Time or one of them oldest sessions. There's enough of a population to support something like this. It's not something that can happen every week.
Right.
It's probably once every couple of months or so, but it's an occasion. I was in London once doing work with Maxi Pre-7. I was just driving on the highway and people was flashing lights and things. And then someone in the car got a text that them having a rave someplace. Them sort of illegal, so they can't put out a thing. So in other words, them tell them must go to a particular roundabout and just keep driving around the roundabout till you see a light flashing and heading off in a direction. And we decided to follow them the night. And when you drive through this like some plane, and we turn up at that place, there were at least 10,000 people there, jumping crazy to some way called hip hop rock music, and they must playing some dub still, but it's just pure young people. It's like a serious thing. And the minute the police can come and lock it off, so them just going and people taking speed and all that kind of thing. And we as Jamaica just watching and say, boy, it's something different. So we never stay long. But there is this kind of situation that takes place. Those who went before know what to expect, and that bring them back the next time. So when you go to one of these really good, nostalgic Jamaican sessions, as a Jamaican, whether you've just come from England or you've been in England all your life, it bring back you remember the good times, it have that. And then the dub music now, one of the things I tell people all the while, sometimes we overrate lyrics. I'm doing this children program now, children project. So one of the researches that I did was what kind of sounds and things. And this article that these people at Disney and stuff have worked out the kind of colors and sound combination to keep your children glued to them thing and just watch over and over. So them say every 4 bars you change that tone, you change that color. And so I don't know if you know it's your grandkid or anything watching that thing, and no matter where they are in the room, as they hear like a sound, them chip in. Humans are just programmed for sounds. Sounds that bring back nice memories, sounds that interesting enough. And I mean, what we're listening to the dub now, not doing us a disservice, because to listen to dub without the heavy frequencies is almost like you're not listening to dub. You're just, we're playing around not listening to dub. So our audience right now, probably unless them turn on them, put on them headphones and things, missing something. But that bass that's a little bit too heavy, that in the red, is part of the experience. And them haunting harmonica sound and them reverb clashing and them delays clashing and going cross is part of an experience. The average person, I don't think want to hear that every day. I know I wouldn't want to hear that every day. But every now and then you go into a place and that is just exactly what the soul needs. And I think that was one of the things that somebody like a Shaka provided. And lent his life work towards it. And realized he had to refresh the music catalog from time to time. So when I come to Jamaica and I find out and realize how important the singers were. But that experience that somebody had, that class, yes, but I went to a Shaka dance for that, and it was an experience. It's not something I want every day, but it's like you're like a Saturday soup. It's like, boy, yeah. You don't want it every day, but a Saturday soup, you know exactly what you're going to taste.
Yes.
And
you may change the consistency. You may
exactly.
do a beef soup or next one you got a chicken soup.
And when you go down at the shop, the corner shop, the same set of money you buck up. That is part of the whole thing, because we joined by this common thing from Jamaica that the whole of we love. And worse, if them can bring in a little red stripe beer or any little thing Jamaican, make the experience a little more closer to home. And there's no substitute for that nostalgia.
You made a point earlier, and we're almost up on a break, but you made a point about Heineken Start Time. I remember the exact time that they started Heineken Start Time. It started at Oceana Hotel.
Yeah, man.
And I started working at Grace Kennedy at the time.
Mikey Bennett
and what's his name was there.
Oceana.
Brown, her name
Yeah, man.
was president of the boxing board or something like that.
Yeah, man.
They were, but Oceana was an ideal location for it. It's
right
downtown on the waterfront. Granted, it was an indoor thing at the time, but if I remember correctly, it was Dennis Brown and Gregory Isaacs who opened that account with Heineken Start Time. And not having heard or experienced them in concert like that for a while, I would have been it was 1981. So we're talking about 20 odd years old. I would have been about 22, 23. It was still a big experience, and so and then it became a once a month thing. So to your point, Mikey, you get up and you go to a Heineken Start Time, and you don't want to do this next week Monday or the following week, but a month from then with a different set of artists is right up the street.
You don't go marathon every week because you're going to hear something new.
Absolutely.
But Heineken Start Time, you never want to hear nothing new. You want the nostalgia.
We want the nostalgia. Let's take a quick break and we come right.
Verse 4 and verse 10. Here endeth the reading of the Shaka daughter.
Yeah, well, Mikey, we were talking about it. As you said, I just wanted to just to tie that up. The Heineken Start Time as a reference, because I'm familiar with. I have probably been to maybe about half a dozen real dub system dance in my life.
Yeah, me too.
And you're right. In as much as we love the music, you can't manage that for too long, right? There was.
Look here.
Yeah.
You hearing me?
Yeah, man.
Okay. No, I wasn't seeing that thing, so I was just checking.
The thing with it is, there's a point, Jamaica man use the term and say it clawed you up. It's clawing, but Jamaica man say clawed you up. Yeah. But no, you sit down, you listen to that for thing. If you drive go with me, a problem because you wobble across the two line of the road and the music. But for the people who are aficionados of that kind of music, as you rightly said, Mikey, that is it. And I guess when you're outside of Jamaica, because I had my experience there in London, where we went to one of them kind of dances. And would I do that in Jamaica? Probably not. But in England, it's a whole different
make a different what you consume, whether by smoking or by drinking, I think too,
Yeah.
Because trust me, it is enhanced by certain type of stimulants, that whole dub experience.
True that.
Yeah, man.
It's for those reasons why things like going to, because the weed, after them dance,
it get cloudy.
Yes.
Cloudy.
Yes. It gets cloudy.
I'm telling you, it cloudy fast. And then I remember it kind of second hand smoke you get now,
Yeah, man.
And that more potent than the real thing. And so you don't want to take in too much of that. But for the people who that appeal to, when the dreadlocks them turn on, man, you got Jah Love sound. Right? Yeah. Granted, the difference with a Jah Love, you get the dub, but you also get the DJ them, like a Brigadier Jerry come on the microphone. But we want to step back a little bit, because we're talking about using this as an opportunity to give some credence to the Soundman, because it started back in Jamaica. We talk about tubbies and so on. We talk about Scratchberry and things. But beyond those, the sound system as the instrument, the marketing instrument for Jamaican music, right? In the early days back in Jamaica, you start out with a Duke Reed who used him sound to promote him liquor store, right? Coxsone came in afterwards, and of course the music they were playing was music that they were borrowing the music, R&B and jazz and blues and them sort of thing. But the purpose was the same. You said it some time ago, Mikey, that music is always used to sell something.
Yeah, man. Sell an experience, sell a product. Yeah.
Right. And essentially, that is what these guys, Tommy Wang from Tom the Great Sebastian, right?
Yeah.
Tommy Wang used his sound system to market his haberdashery. He had a haberdashery and he sells small appliances and so on, because that's what he was. He was a haberdasher. Coxsone on the other, well, Coxsone was probably the only one who, from a straight music standpoint, right, because he came back from his farmer thing, send down him equipment and build him sound system. And for him, it was about the record. His was more directly. Prince Buster too, who eventually followed suit, right? Because he was an apprentice, right? And so on. But these were, Coxsone had made a decision and he was going into the studio business a long time. So the sound system served as his testing ground. So once he started produce record, I remember through Federal Records before he started the studio. This sound was how he tested his record. And I think you said that in a previous program, Mikey. How the record appealed to the audience at the dance determine two things. Determine the price of the next record that the artist is putting out. It also determined any kind of direction the career of that singer or whomever is going to take.
Yeah. And there's quite a few songs too that were never commercial hits on the radio. But when you go to a party, a question was like, and Alton Ellis, Live and Learn. Mm-hmm. You never really hear that on the radio, but when you go to a party, that is a dance song, you know. And you have quite a few like those, because one of the biggest consumers of records produced at the time, it was the jukebox.
Yeah.
Right. So next to the dance hall, the jukebox people, you have a man of, you know, because you know Jamaica is reputed to have more bars per square mile.
Channel man from Channel 1.
Channel 1.
Lock up that jukebox. But you see, sometimes one of the things that not highlighted enough is the entrepreneurial spirit of the average Jamaican. You know, every little average Jamaican looking for an opportunity to make a money off of something that them think can make a money from. You know, from scamming to putting on partner. It's just something about us. You know, in other words, we see opportunities. Once somebody go to a place and see a crowd and start to calculate, say, boy, if I get half of them people paying X amount of money, it can cost X amount for your sound. And people talk. And people are almost like encouraged to keep a party. Where there's a round the amount of round robin party that keep in Jamaica every week.
Yep. And the same thing happens here too in Florida.
Exactly. So that whole entrepreneurial thing around the entertainment industry has always been there. And we can follow the route of the Chinaman, of the music in Jamaica. And give thanks to them, because them brought a certain level of commerce to it, and them invested seriously and heavily in it, because, you know, like I said, they saw the sale of each record as a significant thing. And if we can sell some more and some more and some more. So they was in the shop watching people buying things and realize that there's a buying pattern. And when you think about between dynamic, between Byron Lee, Sonic Soul, Channel 1, Leslie Kang, it's a four significant set of China people that, you know, involved. And almost all of them had sound in some way. Byron Lee had them band and them PA system. Channel 1 had them big sound system. And you know what I mean? So them invested in all that aspect.
Channel 1 was actually, those Hookim guys were known for the sound system.
Yes, and the jukeboxes.
Yes, in fact, I think the older brother, Joseph, right? He was the one who controlled the jukebox business, and over time, then basically you had this subdivision. You know, a lot of other Chinese people came in, and they take on the business of what I mean, Randy's. They were doing the same thing too. They were selling records to jukebox operators.
Yeah, and it is now.
Hi there. If you enjoyed that clip, go on over to our website at yardmedia.com where you can watch the entire broadcast at your leisure. And while you're there, why don't you check out our other reggae music features? And before you leave, pick up some of our Jamaican reggae merchandise, and hey, don't forget to tell your friends.